What are we gonna, I'm not changing my mind.
Danny Weaver, yeah.
I just- You
Danny
all-
Weaver, he's.
I really don't want her to come back.
Okay, good morning. Would we all please stand for a moment of silence and then the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. I'd like to call the June 5th, 2018 Washington County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. With that, I'd like to ask for the approval of, and we'll do these one at a time, the May 22nd minutes.
Second.
Motion is second for the May 22nd minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0. And then I'd like to also ask for the approval of the May 30th, 2000. Okay, I'd like to say welcome to everyone, and we're just going to start out our open session here with the commissioner reports and comments, and we just start with Commissioner Kiefer.
Okay. First, I'd like to thank county staff. Last week, I think it was last week, we got to approve our county budget, and that's always a diligent process, and staff in all departments worked very hard on that, so I appreciate your effort. And to have us come in on a holiday week, I think shows to the citizens that we really care about that process. Also, this weekend, of course, was the ribbon cutting ceremony for the UIP, the Urban Improvement Project, and of course the governor attended, and that was a great event. I think that really shows a good kickoff to the downtown project. It's been quiet in recent weeks as bids were coming in, so not much action, but hopefully we'll be hearing a lot of noise and seeing a lot of things this summer, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Klein?
Again, thank you to Governor Hogan and the Maryland Theater and all those responsible for the Maryland Theater ribbon cutting and the funding. It's a great day for Washington County and the beginning of the new urban improvement project for downtown Hagerstown. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. For myself, again, congratulations to everyone that's been involved in moving the UIP project forward. And I did forget to thank our county staff for all of the hard work that they've done moving this UIP project forward in my comments there Saturday. So I just want to thank Mr. Hovis, Mr. Slocum, our CFO, and everybody from the Washington County government that's been involved in that project. They worked hard and just countless hours trying to keep that thing moving forward. And I apologize, I forgot to recognize you Saturday, so I just want to thank you that I am very honored to be associated with you, and just really, really thank you for all your hard efforts on everything to move that project forward. So, yep.
Joint effort amongst many staff, and Jim's certainly been a leader.
Mm-hmm. And also, I know we've been into some discussions with JGBLI and their request. I think they have another trip coming up, and I guess the commissioners, we have to decide if, for me, I would prefer to do it in open session, but we have to make a decision as to how we want to move forward with their latest funding request. And I believe it was at around $70,000. And what's the time frame for these requests to be approved?
If I'm not mistaken, it was a June trip request, sir.
Okay, so I'd like for the commissioners just to let Rob or myself know as to how you want to move forward with that discussion. And also down at our training center site, I thought I was on the record. I checked it. I can't find it, but I thought I was on the record to make sure that land remains farmed, whatever was farmed before the county took over. Because if it's not being farmed and it's growing up in weeds and thistles and all of that, we could possibly be in violation of our own ordinances. So I don't think that would be good. So I would like possibly for the commissioners to support me in trying to get Kevin Lewis some directions as to how we should be keeping all of that under control and possibly keeping the property farmed. So I think it would be important to keep it farmed as long as someone's willing to farm it. So if the commissioners are okay with that one.
So the property's needed for construction when that process starts. Sure.
So, any thoughts or comments?
I'm okay with the land being farmed.
Someone farmed it before?
Yeah, it's been farmed for.
The owner of the property we bought it from?
It's been farmed for at least as long as you've been on this earth, Commissioner. For many, many years. I don't know how many years, but many. So we'll have Kevin Lewis reach out to see who's farmed it in the past and maybe give us some information on hopefully the previous farmer can keep farming or something.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that concludes my comments. Commissioner Myers?
I only have one. I want to also, I guess I could go back and regurgitate what the downtown project as well as things that are happening and thank the staff for the budget as well. Something that I've been thinking about, I guess, for some time now, and I want to just, I guess, bring up as a conversation amongst the commissioners. No direction today, but as I sit here for almost the 4 years that I have, it's been brought to my attention on numerous occasions of things that have gone on in the county when it comes to our finances. And some are quite upsetting. And it's like you hear someone make a comment about something that has happened, and you have to listen. That's what we do. Whether it's a phone call or someone that encounters you. And I'd like to, with your all's agreement, I'd like to direct Rob to get us a cost of what it would cost the county to go back and do a full financial audit of this county, back as many years as need necessary, to find out, to be sure that things are in order. I just think things, we might find things that we don't want to find, but and if we don't, that way it gives people peace of mind. I mean, why these comments are coming out, I don't know, and I don't want to pinpoint anything, but I think that's something we should consider. And if it's a great deal of money, I mean, I may change my mind, but I don't know what a financial audit like that would cost. I know that they do them occasionally. Even in my years in Annapolis, they did them, I think 3 or 4 times. A financial audit going back of equipment, and I'm talking about everything as far as where equipment is. They found out in State Highway Administration they were missing $1 million of equipment. Didn't even know where it was at. So of a state just as small as Maryland is.
State level, that was voted on by the delegation and Senate?
No, that was just ordered by the governor. Okay. So as the executive branch of this county, we have the ability to issue something like that. But I think first of all, I'd like just to find out what that process would be, what it would cost the county citizens, and whether we want to move forward. So I don't know if anybody else has any comments or not. Or
I would certainly be in support of something like that. State government does it routinely. There's always a big discussion at the federal level, audit the Fed. So, sure, I think it certainly makes sense. Things can be looked at, dollar amounts and just processes and procedures that were laid out by this body. Have they been followed? So, I would agree.
So we're just looking for staff to give us
some direction, yes.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do that. Of course, you know that there are audits in place, but I think you're talking of a different degree, I would imagine. So I'll get with Sarah, our CFO, and bring back more information to you. That's
External independent, yes.
That's the extent to which I can speak, because we would certainly want to come back to you with prepared information.
Say by the end of the month?
Yes, sir.
By the end of June. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, last chance, commissioner comments. Okay, staff reports. We have any staff here today care to provide a report? Yes, sir. Mr. Hobbs and Mr. Eshelman. How are you two today?
Mr. Sterling will be joining us. I'm Scott Hobbs, Director of Engineering, here with Andrew Eshelman, our Chief of Design, and Jim Sterling, Director of Public Works, will be joining us. We wanted to provide an update of South County projects that we're working on, our plan of action. Andrew is passing out our updated South County plan of action, sharing again our major projects moving forward, and Jim's here to talk about some of the work that Highways continues on. But I wanted to provide some information regarding Chestnut Grove Road. We requested the piggyback on-call consultant last week, got them on board, and they're actually there today dewatering the site. So that's progress made here in the last week. We're going to evaluate as the water recedes to find out how much debris removal and needs to be done at the pipe. And then from there, move forward with a contract plan as we discussed last week. So we're moving forward on that. They're also responsible for Harper's Ferry, the southern portion of Harper's Ferry, shown on number 4 on your map. The southern portion, they're just south of Morgan Pine Road. Tomorrow, they will be mobilized at that location to provide retaining wall work to help stabilize the shoulders and the roadway in that section that was severely damaged and impacted from the flooding. From there, we are continuing to move forward with evaluation of back road. What Andrew passed out was the map and a summary with some photographs, some before and after photos. Valley Road is one indication of the improvements that were done by the highway crews and some of our resources, outside resources, to get that road back open in order. The first photograph in that is back road and how severely impacted that was. So that's going to take a concerted effort to move forward with our plan. Garrett's Mill Road, we received bids for our geotechnical work. It's important whenever you have a structure that size, a bridge that size, that the geotechnical work be done and provided in the plans. That's our design build contract for Garrett's Mill Road. So we're moving forward. Next week they'll be out there with the boring rig, a drilling rig for the borings, and moving forward to that project so that we can present the request for proposals for the design build contract and move forward in that, hopefully in less than 12 months. That's our current plan. Hoffmaster Road is our last project, where in that section, southern portion of the section, south of Morgan Pine Road, there'll be future repairs at Hoffmaster. The highway crew made the road passable. We have a project. It was in the CIP. Now we're moving forward with it, where it'll be a longer closure in some time from now to stabilize that roadway and embankment. And the last project of our major projects is the Sandy Hook Road, and I want to turn that over to Andrew, and he has some more information and some updates about a meeting upcoming and some information regarding that.
Yeah, so we realize that Sandy Hook Road closure is a critical road in South County, connecting people west of the mountain to the east, and we've been working diligently with the National Park Service to try to move that project forward. As you know, they're the lead agency where the landslide occurred. We do have a coordination meeting scheduled this Thursday at noon. That will include county staff, the sheriff's office, emergency services. Commissioners are invited to attend as well. Includes the federal delegation is invited to that. The latest update we received is they are in the procurement phase. They have a pre-qualified bidders list that they will be getting price proposals from to address the removal of the debris material. That would be the phase one of the project, and then we're assuming, based on the memorandum that we received from them, they would then move to phase two later, which would be a permanent stabilization. And so we'll find out more at that meeting on Thursday in terms of the timeframes for the work to occur, as well as the ultimate answer everyone wants to know, which is how long the road is going to be closed.
And which road was that again?
Sandy Hook Road.
And that's the one that's on the federal government?
Yes, well, it's a unique situation in that the county has the maintenance responsibility for the road. The road is located between Harpers Ferry National Park and the C&O Canal National Park. And so those two agencies really are the lead in addressing the remediation of the landslide. We've been working with Jim's office in Public Works and as well as the Sheriff's Office to provide coverage in the area. There's been 24/7 deputy coverage. I believe they dropped it back down to one. Jim's office did install some tube gates down there to try to provide some relief to the sheriff for the maintenance and responsibility of that area. That's to some varying degree of success, and so I think we all acknowledge that it's critical to try to get that road reopened as soon as possible because it does result in a very long detour.
Sorry, what? For now they are. Yeah, you're well aware that the one set was ripped down 2 days after we installed it.
So I guess my question, I'm sorry.
Okay, finish up. What is, thank you, what is the mediation of a landslide? How technical is that and the expertise needed?
I was out there when we met with the federal highway engineers, so that was the resource that was provided to the National Park Service. And so they're looking at it in a two-phase approach, which is one, the utilities need to be repaired. The area that has the debris and the rubble needs essentially removed from top to bottom in a planned manner. And then ultimately, then the second phase would be once you get that out of the way, they would be looking at an engineered plan to permanently stabilize the exposed embankment.
Am I correct, there's always the threat of an additional landslide during the repair?
Yes, and that's the danger. Right now, we haven't experienced any additional material coming down, but essentially, as you see in the photo there's about 100-foot wide area that's now exposed, doesn't have any stabilization on it.
And, sir, because that is a roadway through National Park Service, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just trying to offer clarification. It was very early on that you were down there with them, and they suggested the closure of the road as well, because it is on their lands, correct?
Yes, essentially the sequence was that we had highway crews down there, of course, during the storm event. This actually happened the day after the major rains. I think it was maybe a Wednesday. So we had an engineer down there as well. In coordination with the highway department, we decided we should close it at this time. Then once the federal highway engineers came in, they confirmed that it was still an active situation and should remain closed.
And Andrew has shared that for the National Park Service, they're operating very quickly for them, but one of the purposes of this discussion, while Sonny Holden and Congressman Delaney's office has been very responsive, I believe, in fact, they've helped restore the U.S. Postal Service very quickly after the meeting that we held that Thursday and heard from the citizens there. Those were two of their primary concerns, so these are being acted on. But fast speed for them is still not fast enough for the citizens down there that need that road.
What we need to do is we need to reach out to the congressman and the two senators, and they need to be at the meeting. And if they can't, they won't have a lot of notice.
Yes, at least
We should have another
Sonny
meeting.
Holding or his representative
Well,
committed to be
We
there.
need the actual congressman
Okay.
there, and we need the senators there. They're the ones that are going to make things move.
Okay.
By the time we get through his staff, back to them, back to the National Park Service, that's just time that's lost. And I think to have an effective timeline to get this road opened, we need to get the congressman himself and our senators there, Van Hollen and Cardin.
Mm-hmm.
So how?
So we'll work
I'll
with
reach
you,
out
President.
if you
We'll work with you, President Baker, to try to make that happen. Yes, sir.
And I think it would be good for the other commissioners to call the congressmen and the senators as well, because when you look at that map, I mean,
Yeah.
there's nowhere to go for the people in South County, especially if you're over on the number 4 and 5 side. To drive all the way into pretty much Sharpsburg to get anywhere.
Yes, yeah, it's a 19-mile detour for the furthest affected residents.
And that's our last part of this plan, is to have a detour route in place that's manageable, that we can work with our Public Works Office, Highways, to get that implemented and maintain it as we reopen roads here moving forward.
And Commissioners, we want to impress upon the National Park Service and our federal representatives that this isn't just to go back and forth. This is also for emergency services. So,
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking about here.
You know, this map is very helpful in so many ways. You know, long-term planning, not anything that is a priority necessarily right now, getting the roads that we already have back open, but looking at the map just to see how isolated, as the crow flies, so to speak, the roads aren't that far apart, but there is a ridge or a divide there. But for emergency services, if this happens 20 years down the road, we're going to be in that same situation. So I don't know if we could plan for another route. I have no idea what the cost for that would be. But it's a shame that they're so close, yet because of this one road being closed, they're so far apart now. Right. And this map, I have an electronic copy that was texted to me that I've given to a few citizens who've asked. This is very helpful. Is this on our website? Has this been delivered to the citizens down there? How can we get this out to them?
Yes, anytime we make a map update, you'll see we have an update here at the bottom of the page. So that way we send it out, and see Danielle just popped up here. So we give them map updates. I've also been giving daily updates, just in brief, for these 6 major projects. And
yeah, Public Relations and Marketing has put a dedicated web page up on our website. So citizens can go to the webpage and see any updates on a daily basis. We also have a hotline that they can call into. I do a new recording pretty much daily if we have a new update. And then we're also getting ready to start PSAs to run on the radio stations. They're providing that for us as a service.
Good.
public service announcement.
Yes, sorry.
Andrew, in the community of Sandy Hook itself, we did some work on the underground drainage culverts.
Mm-hmm.
With the recent rainfall, was that able to prevent any standing water on Sandy Hook Road?
Jim, do you know further? I know we had a highway crew that was down there yesterday and today working on the culverts, and I know, speaking with Ed Plank, the highway director, he said the water level was up.
Okay.
So do you have any further?
I think a lot of that was just because of the water level with the river being,
Okay.
because those lines actually go underneath the railroad tracks.
It
towards
does.
now.
It does.
And I know the CSX was in there 2 weeks ago working on the ends, trying to get those opened up because we can't get into there.
Okay.
It's on their property.
Thank you.
Just one other quick question. There on number 2 of the map, the little red line in there, and this is just, I'm kind of curious. Can you go left there on Lock Hill Road?
Yes.
So you can make a left there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else to add? Questions, commissioners? Thank you guys for all your work down there. I'll tell you, you're doing a tremendous job. Everybody I run into, they give you nothing but praises, the county staff that's been down there working, so keep up the great work. Thank you. Okay, any other county reports to be provided from the chambers? Okay, let's, Mr. Hovis, you have anything?
Hey, President Baker, fine, thank you.
Mr. Slocum?
All set.
Fine. County attorney issues? Boards and commissions?
I do have one board vote for today. The Economic Development Commission would like to appoint Thomas DeBura to serve an unfulfilled term through June 30th as an at-large member. That's through June 30th, 2019, excuse me.
Second.
Motion a second for that approval. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Citizens' participation. We have any citizens here today care to participate? Please come forward, state your name. Morning.
Good morning. Donnie Ravis, 161 Brynwood Street, Hagerstown, Maryland. Hey, I just wanted to, first of all, thank the county staff. I attended that Thursday meeting down in South County. I think that was a well-presented plan, even though it was very contentious at times. There was some concerns on having ambulance service down in that area. And that's what I wanted to bring up. I don't know if anybody heard this, but there was some calls. Emergency services, I guess the ambulance services comes out of Sharpsburg, am I correct, for South County? And then they get some from Brunswick. So I don't know if there's an overlap, but that was one of my concerns, that because there's roads out, and like you've seen, if everybody's able to get the services they need. So I was just being a concerned citizen, and that's it. I think you've done a wonderful job other than that. Oh, there's another thing. That's what it was. In expressing to these people that you're rebuilding some of the damaged areas, this is going to be new technology. You're going to be bringing up better engineering. Scott Hobbs's group going to be bringing, better culverts, different ways. So hopefully this doesn't happen again, maybe for 500 or plus years. So that might be something you want to get out there to the community. So while they're going through their temporary inconveniences, which are dramatic, it might be something that's uplifting. They know they're getting some better roads and material. Okay, that was it.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, have anyone else here today care to provide a comment? Okay, that concludes citizens' participation. And we're at Healthy Families Home Visiting Grant, needing an approval to submit. Ms. Leopold.
Good morning, Commissioners and Administration.
Good morning.
Stephanie Leopold, Grant Manager with the Office of Grant Management, seeking approval today for the submission of the Healthy Families Grant application to the Maryland State Department of Education in the amount of $277,993 and to accept funding as awarded. The Healthy Families Home Visiting Program is a comprehensive program modeled after a nationally renowned initiative, Healthy Families America. The goals of the program are to prevent child maltreatment through early intervention, promote healthy growth, development, and strengthening of the parent-child relationship. The Washington County Health Department is the vendor contracted to provide this service. Funding in the amount of $6,950 is included in the award for county administrative support. No county funds are involved in this award. Are there any questions?
Okay, if we have no questions, need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion a second for the approval of the recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is the deliberation, a consensus decision on the application for the zoning map amendment RZ 17-005, BSM Big Pool LLC. Ms. Baker, and you can just give us an overview.
Well, I noticed, before you jump into this, I noticed that there are only 4 commissioners present this morning. And so I would ask you if you want to proceed with this item and discuss it to reach a consensus, or if you'd like us to reschedule it when all 5 members are present. Asking you what you want to do.
Well, I can only speak for myself. I know we've postponed it before, so if we have enough of commissioners here, I guess 4 of us could decide which one way or the other on how to move forward with it. And if we need to bring it back for a complete decision, we can do that. But if there's enough a decision to be made today to move forward, we could just go ahead and move forward with it today. I'm okay with that. So.
Is that what you want to do?
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. We're ready to.
Commissioners being here for the vote or the consensus.
Okay, this will be a discussion to reach a consensus, and then later there'll be the formal vote. Okay, well then I'll turn that over to Jill Baker, our chief planner, to give you a summary of the case.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jill Baker, Chief Planner with the Department of Planning and Zoning. As stated in the agenda packet and by Commissioner Baker, this is a piecemeal rezoning case that is being presented here for consensus and deliberation today. The request is being made by Big Pool BSM LLC for property located along Tedrick Drive and also to the rear of property accessing Big Pool Road in the Clear Spring area. The request today is for rezoning to a rural business overlay. That's a little different than your typical rezonings that we see come through here. This is not a Euclidean zoning. This is actually a floating zone that is permitted in the rural areas for businesses that exist or wish to establish themselves. So what we have before us is not a question of the typical change or mistake rule. It is a question of whether or not it conforms to the criteria that are listed within the zoning ordinance that's established under the section for rural business overlays. The property in question is a total of 9.73 acres. However, the proposal is for 2.24 acres of that property to be rezoned with a rural business floating zone for the purpose of expanding a parking lot for truck traffic at the existing site. The overall site plan included within this packet, includes the expansion and relocation of the existing mixed-use retail store that's there to include a new restaurant section and a seating section for that restaurant. That is not really the topic of discussion for this rezoning because the specific property that is currently located on is already zoned rural business. And so they're okay to go. They just need to revise a site plan to upgrade that facility. So what is really in question is the property just to the rear. Currently, there are two diesel fueling stations and about 8 truck parking spaces that exist there today. The purpose of the rezoning for the applicant is to, again, relocate the structure that houses the mixed-use retail so that it can have better traffic flow and that the trucks can now have more truck space area. I believe they're adding 13 or 14 new spaces, and they're adding another set of diesel fuel pumps. So it's really to give a little bit more parking spaces for the truck traffic, as well as upgrading the fuel stations a little bit, and to make a better flow of the entire property. If you've ever been there, currently there's sort of just a one-way in, one-way out, and I believe that they want to go with more of a loop design to help those trucks be able to move on and off. As I mentioned, there are criteria that must be met in order for us to deliberate on this today. Basically, very quickly, the criteria include that the proposed district will accomplish the purpose of the rural business zoning district. That purpose statement is to permit the continuation and development of businesses that support the agricultural industry and farming community, serve the needs of the rural residential population, provide for recreational and tourism opportunities, and to establish locations for businesses and facilities not otherwise permitted in the rural areas of the county. Another portion of the criteria is the fact that the development must be outside of any designated growth area, which in fact this is the case. It must have safe, usable access to an adequate road. They would have that while the property that's being rezoned is somewhat landlocked in what they're rezoning. The purpose is to connect the two properties together so that they would still use the existing access that's there today that goes out to Earnsville Road. So they do have access available to them. On-site sewage disposal, water supply, stormwater management, et cetera, can be adequately addressed. Typically, we handle that at the site plan stage, but given the fact that there's existing use already on the site, we believe that they will be able to handle that. And that the location of the rural business district would not be incompatible with existing uses, cultural or historic resources, or ag preservation efforts. Again, the use is already existing. They are expanding it a little bit. There are no cultural or historic resources within a half-mile radius, and there are no agricultural preservation efforts within the immediate vicinity of the property. Adequate site distance along roads should be provided at the point of access. Again, it's an existing access, therefore the site distance seems to be appropriate. Proposed landscaped areas must provide adequate buffering of the proposed rural business uses from the existing land uses in the vicinity. That's typically, again, handled through the site plan phase, but they do show within their site plan and within this packet establishing a fenced area as well as landscape buffering with, I believe, some Leland cypress and other opaque screening. With that being said, the Planning Commission has had a chance to look at this, and they have supplied a recommendation to you already established in your packet. They are recommending approval of this project. I have nothing further to add. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Again, we are seeking a deliberation on a consensus here.
It's just a consensus.
Correct. Correct.
As far as maybe Kirk.
Question
Yes, sir.
first, or you want to go first?
You go ahead and ask your questions.
Just the process.
Yeah,
I mean, you can answer your question first. I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah, easy question. You said there was 8 existing truck parking spots.
Yes.
And it will expand a total of how many? Total.
I think it's 20.
20, from 8 to 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty
So
sure
there's
it's
12
20.
new.
I'm pretty sure that's what they testified to, is that it would be 20 new spots.
So if you would like what exactly staff is looking for today? I mean, Joe already said it, but if you want to.
Obviously, the way this works, for any map amendment or decision to be effectuated, there needs to be a decision and findings of fact that supports the decision of the administrative body, in this case, the county commissioners, to be able to prepare those proposed decisions and findings of fact. We need some direction from you all as to what you'd like those to be. So once you indicate a consensus as to the direction you'd like to go, we prepare proposed findings of fact for your formal adoption and vote at a later meeting.
Okay. Again, I just think it's important to be moving along today because everybody involved is on a roller coaster, highs, lows, and everybody's ready to get a decision. I see there's the attorney representing the Tedricks here today. That cost. So if we have another meeting, that's going to be another cost. So at some point in time, and I would think we pretty much
Yeah, we have,
here
this is
now.
a consensus anyway. We have a vote later, so I'm all right. That's fine.
So I guess the consensus needs to be made, I guess, if you're supporting it or not. So I don't know where Commissioner Kiefer has any comments or anything like that, so.
I would be inclined to disagree with the proposal. I think the characteristic of the neighborhood, having Fort Frederick just down the road, I don't think it's indicative of a commercial area. You know, truck stops are okay, but let's call it what it is, a truck stop. It's a place for trucks to stop. I've made it a habit in the last few weeks to specifically use that gas station to get some gas just so I can see the flow of everything. And it's rather difficult when you're taking 70 eastbound to get off the ramp to look over your shoulder over the bridge. I just think a lot of improvements just aren't there to handle increased flow. I also have a concern with in the last year, I've received a few calls that I've forwarded to the National Park Service. Big pool, not the community, but big pools, the ponds, the lakes in big pool. Low water levels. Of course, if you look right now, they're probably at capacity, but for some reason, the water level is declining. Nobody seems to know why. This business is pretty close to that, and I don't know if there could be an environmental concern there or not. I think that needs looked into. So I think there's a variety of reasons. I just don't think this is. I would be okay if the owners wanted to do whatever they wanted to do on the current parcel of land that's zoned the way they have it. I mean, that's not anything we can change, but I would be inclined to say no.
I don't know if any other commissioners have any comment, but I'm also going to be, I'm not going to support it either. I'm going to be denying the zoning request, so the amendment request. So I know what my position is going to be. So I don't know if there's any other comments.
I was approached last night after planning commission by a fellow that has lived next to salvage yard for quite some time, and when they moved in, nothing he could do about it. There was noise, but increasingly after a period of years, the equipment's gotten bigger. The equipment's run longer hours, and the equipment now makes more noise. And when he approached the person, the owner, and the comment was, well, that's the way it is. There's noise. You're living next to noise. I feel in this case, whether it's 5 property owners or even just one property owner that's affected, what we're doing here, yes, we have to go back to when Exxon owned the property, and yes, when houses were built, but being a good neighbor and is not making the situation worse than it is. We have to deal with, and I say we, the neighbors that are presently there, whoever it may be, they have to deal with it the way it is today. But I'm not in favor of making it worse. And I think by expanding what's there to the extent of changing the zoning would just make it worse. And if I've begged the parties to compromise and find a middle ground or a condition of where they could agree, but that has not been done. I've asked, and as well as I know Commissioner Barr, we tried to get some kind of a way to work around this but the neighbors would be satisfied. But if there's one neighbor that's not satisfied, it's good enough for me that we should move forward on this.
Yeah, that's one of my concerns, going from 8 to 20 with 12 additional. I think you mentioned that the part of the restaurant part is separate and could be expanded. Is that even our consensus? So they could still expand their restaurant, correct? It's the additional of the 12 parking spots that seems to be troubling all of us.
So that was my mission today, is just to get some information out from the commissioners. Thought we've done a nice job, and like I said, those families are incurring cost. So at least at the minimum, try to keep their costs to a minimum, and let them know where we stand. So I thought that was, thank the commissioners for coming forward with comments today.
So based on that discussion, we'll put together proposed findings of fact to deny the requested classification.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, now next on the agenda, let me find my sheet. Bid awards, or bid award PUR 1386, grounds maintenance for various county departments.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Brandy Noggle, buyer in the purchasing department, and I have John Easterday from BlackRock.
How are you, Mr. Easterday?
The recommendation before you today is for the bid award of contract PUR 1386, grounds maintenance chemicals for various departments. We move to award the contract to the responsible companies with the lowest responsible bid that met the specs per the chemicals. indicated on the bid tab summary. There were four items on this bid tab that were tied bids, and per section 2.9 of the Washington County excuse me, procurement policy, we have to draw for the bids out of a lot. The county accepted bids on March 2nd of 2018. The bid proposal was listed in the local newspaper, on the Maryland Marketplace website, and the county's webpage. Black Rock Golf Course utilizes these chemicals, as well as the county highway department and the water quality department. The city of Hagerstown may also utilize this bid. This is for a one-year term, tentatively to begin July 1st, 2018, commencing June 30th of 19. Funds were allocated in the expense accounts for each one of the departments named. And with that, I need some help with the drawing. So if I could get each commissioner to draw an item for me, that would be great. Everybody good with that?
Commissioner Klein's the luckiest. He's the luckiest drawer I know.
No, I defer.
I've been involved in 50-50 drawings, and I'm going to tell you, I've never seen anybody win as many times as that guy.
The first item is for item number 13, headway. Number 13, headway went to Site 1 Landscape. Number 27 is Balaton Flow.
I want to see how you're putting them in
That's
there.
okay.
They're all
There's
exactly the same.
right. There's no pressure here.
Number 27 for Balaton Flow, also Site 1 Landscape.
Okay.
Item number 31 is Signature Extra. Just only had 2 tied bids for this item.
I'll do what my grandkids do. They're getting pretty good at that.
31 is Helena Chemical.
Okay. Congratulations.
The last item is item number 32 for Barricade. It also had 3 bids.
Barricades for what? Jeff Klein Chemicals.
And he stepped out for a minute. So. He must. Right. He's out there mixing them up, right?
Any questions?
You missed your bid award.
Hey, on the public. Okay, now we do need a motion to award.
Make a motion to award to the people that were picked out of the basket.
The basket winners.
Second.
Motion to say, you have a motion and a second. That was Mr. Kiefer. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, before we move forward with our public hearing, I see Valerie Oliver here, who's a candidate for county commissioner, along with Bill McKinley, also a candidate for county commissioner. I just want to thank both of you for attending our meeting today and watching and observing to see what's happening here in Washington County. So thank both of you for attending today. And Donnie Rivas was here earlier. He gave us a comment during citizens' participation. There he is. So thank you for attending our meeting today.
Congratulations.
So
you leave the room, never know what might be said.
Okay, next, let me get my sheet opened up here. Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing, and it's concerning a grant for the, I believe it was the YMCA, yes, after-school program. The purpose of the hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the matter. The procedure is as follows. We will first have staff introduce the matter, after which the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to testify. After everyone who wishes to speak has done so, the hearing will close. The commissioners may then discuss the issue and take any action that they deem appropriate, including adoption or rejection of the proposal, or they may take the issue under advisement and deliberate at a later date. Okay, so we'd like to ask our staff to go ahead and introduce the matter. How are you all this morning?
Good morning. Susan Buchanan, Director, Office of Grant Management. I'm just going to take a brief second before the public hearing to formally introduce Tina Wilson, who is the newest member of the Office of Grant Management. This is her first appearance before this board. You may find that she looks familiar because she worked for several years in the purchasing department. And I'm just going to turn this over to Ms. Wilson, and I'm sure she's going to do a fantastic job.
Thank you. I request a motion to approve a resolution of support authorizing submission of the county's application for fiscal year 18 Community Development Block Grant funding for the Hagerstown YMCA after-school program in Hancock, requesting $51,455 and accept funding as awarded. In accordance with 24 CFR 570.486A5, Washington County must provide a public hearing for the purpose of obtaining citizens' view before submission and application to the Community Development Block Grant Program. The county intends to submit an application requesting $51,455 for the Hagerstown YMCA after-school program in Hancock, Maryland. The Maryland Community Development Block Grant Program is a federally funded program designed to assist units of local government with activities directed towards neighborhood revitalization, housing opportunities, economic development, and improved public facilities and services. The state of Maryland, specifically the Department of Housing and Community Development, has assumed the responsibility for the administration of the program from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The state provides CDBG funds for eligible projects based on meeting one of the three national objectives. Number one, benefit to persons of low and moderate income. 2, prevention or elimination of slum or blight. Or 3, meet an urgent need that is an immediate threat to the community health, safety, or welfare. During state fiscal year 2019, the state of Maryland anticipates receiving an award of $7,114,498. These funds will be distributed throughout the state based on a competitive grant process. If approved today, the county will submit an application requesting $51,455 to be used to fund the after-school program in Hancock, Maryland, beginning in the 2018-19 academic year. Due to changes in grant funding eligibility, the current provider will be unable to continue providing the after-school program in the 2018-19 school year. The loss of this provider will leave a large gap in the ability for children and families to have a stable school environment that will help the children, that will keep the children safe and engaged while their parents are working. The previous program had been offered at no or low cost to the families for many years, with costs offset by grant funds. The town of Hancock is in a rural area of the county where more than 51% of those residing in the low to moderate income range. The YMCA plans to offer an after-school program that combines an educational and recreational program designed to help all children develop and grow. Statistics show that after-school programming consisting of these elements help children build self-confidence and grow in self-reliance. This program will fill the gap of after-school programming and address a critical community need. The grant funds requested in this grant application will allow the YMCA to decrease the subsidy amount over the next 2 years to allow families to transition gradually to the market rate for after-school care. The grant application will be available for public review June 20th, 2018 at the Washington County Office of Grant Management located at 100 West Washington Street, Suite 2200. The grant will provide up to $51,455 for the Hagerstown YMCA after-school program in Hancock and included $2,450 of administrative funding to the Washington County Office of Grant Management for the cost of administering and monitoring the grant. We also have with us today Maria Rubeling. She is the CEO at the Hagerstown YMCA.
Good morning.
Do you have any questions?
Comments? I can speak now, or we can wait.
We'll do that at the end. Okay, we'll now open the hearing for public comment. Anyone wishing to testify here today? We have anybody here would care to testify? Okay, seeing none. The commissioners, you have any questions?
Just some comments. I'd like to thank Maria and her staff, DJ, who've made a couple trips to Hancock to work on this project. I think you've done a great job. I know the Hancock Community Cascade as well were really hurt hard when the previous provider had to pull out for their financial reasons. And that left a big hole in some very low-income communities in our county. And those are services that a lot of parents depend on. A lot of parents travel 40-plus miles, an hour to work sometimes each way, Chambersburg, beyond Hagerstown, Frederick, Winchester, and they don't get at home in time to get their kids, off the school bus or pick them up at school. So unfortunately, I think at times that may lead to kids being left at home alone, maybe where they shouldn't be, not because they're bad parents in any way, it's just because their parents have to work to make ends meet. And so this provides a much safer alternative. And the program also has a academic aspect to it as well. It's not just a babysitter, really. There's some education components behind of it, which I think makes the program even that much better. So I see in so many ways the different priorities of the CDBG block grant are certainly met with this grant request. And I'm fully in support of it.
Yeah, I support it too, but this is a one-time grant, 1 year, right?
It's a 2-year grant. The first year, the funds are a little bit more as we help the parents transition. The second year, it's a little bit less. And by the third year, it would be hoping that the families are preparing better about it if they are only paying $0 or $15 a week, and then you turn around and tell them it's $60 a week. It would be impossible.
We reapply for more grants too.
The hope is that we wouldn't need to. The Y is also going to be kicking in a 20% scholarship for every family, so the Y has some skin in the game too. We're not just asking for.
So there's a long-term plan, not just the 1 year to patch it, to keep it rolling.
Oh, yeah. The goal would be to continue on and be able to prepare the families. Not only that, we are also licensed through the Maryland State Department of Education and published with XLs, which allows lower-income families to then apply for the funds available through Department of Social Services to help with some vouchers. So that's important, too.
The service previously was provided at no cost for many years. So when that grant funding was taken away, it went from people being used to zero to all of a sudden a large burden. And this plan will help them families transition to be able to financially plan for the amount that they need to set aside for the child care in a
That's a great approach. It doesn't hit them all at once.
Right.
And Susan, you've visited Hancock as well
Yes.
to speak with us on these
Yes.
discussions. Thank you.
And also, I was going to say that the previous program didn't take into account any of the income levels of the families. It was just free for everybody, whereas what we would do is work with the families. I mean, there are some families in Hancock that can pay. There are many that cannot. And so we would have a process of evaluating at what level they need the funding, and hence that's why 3 years out, we're hoping that, just what the Y provides in the financial aid and the DSS money will not need any more grant funding.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, thank you. The public hearing is now concluded, and the commissioners, you want to move forward today with the support of the authorizing the resolution?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the grant.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Thank you very much. Good luck. Have
Thank
a
you
good day.
kindly. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you.
Okay, contract award, PUR 1391, stop loss assurance coverage. Mr. Curry. I thought, okay, there he is. And Ms. Payton, how are you this morning?
Good morning.
Hi,
thank you.
Introduce your guest.
Yes. Hi, Debbie Payton from the Department of Human Resources. I have with me Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing, and Steve Dillman, our benefits consultant with CBIZ. He's the Senior Vice President.
The recommended motion is to award a contract for stop loss to responsible poser, Sun Life Financial of Wesley Hill, Massachusetts, who submitted the lowest price of special term claimants for a total annual premium of $769,228 even, for a stop loss of $175,000 per claimant. Quotes were received on May 5th of 2018. Received 2 quotes. I'll turn it over to Debbie if she has anything she want to add.
I just wanted to explain that the county does have a stop loss plan that protects the county from high claimants. Our stop loss deductible currently is $175,000. The county is self-insured, so once we pay claims for a single employee in the amount of $175,000, our stop loss insurance kicks in to cover expenses over and above that amount. The Sun Life will not laser any individuals, and lasering means the vendor sets the threshold on certain individuals higher than $175,000 due to them being a high claimant. The county, being self-insured, will be responsible on a single person to the amount set by the vendor. In the case of the Aetna, they were going to laser 2 individuals at the amount of $400,000. And that would mean that the county would be paying up to $400,000, and after that, then the stop-loss carrier would kick in. Sun Life did not laser anyone. I'm going to turn it over to Steve Dillman from CBIZ.
So we sent this out to 9 different vendors, and essentially only Aetna responded, and Sun Life. The other vendors all declined due to pricing that they could not come close to the pricing you had. So this increase, there is an increase here. It's still very competitive within the market, and the fact that there are no lasers, it's a better policy than what's been offered.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners? If none, we have a recommended motion to support.
Second.
Motion and a second for the recommended motion approval. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Yeah, I'm sorry, Commissioner. Fine. Okay, 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bid results, award update, natural gas supply services to Washington County Government and Washington County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association of Maryland, Mr. Curry and Mr. Sterling.
Also, we have Richard Anderson, who is consultant, worked on the contract with the Board of Ed and also for us as Washington County. We moved to concur and enter into a record for the results of the contract awarded on May 18th with Washington Gas and Electric Energies of Timonium, Maryland, of the bid for Washington County Public Schools for natural gas supply services at the following rate of a 36-month contract at a rate of .397 per thermal. We had a cooperative, and the objective there was to come together as for Washington County, the Board of Ed, and for the Washington County Volunteer Fire Association to get a better price for paying for the thermal gas usage. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Anderson to add anything else you'd like to add for that.
Thank you. This was a competitive bid, putting together the school system, the fire departments, and the county. The request for proposal was issued on April 2018. We received pricing. The low bid was Washington Gas Energy Services. The price at $3,957 for 36 months represents an 11% reduction in the current cost that we're paying, effective on the June 2018 meter reads. It'll be about $19,200 savings to the county. The process of choice in Maryland for natural gas is difficult in this region, but we were able to achieve a continuation of our current contract through Washington Gas by this competitive bid. At this point, it's interesting to note that natural gas has risen significantly, almost 50 to the 50-cent range. And if we had just been a month and a half later, we would not have been able to receive the kind of competitive bidding that we're able to get at this point.
Any questions, comments, commissioners? I guess there were on our recommended motion, it says into the record the results of the contract award made on April 18th. So has the award already been?
The board awarded, and we're concurring with their award. The school board, this is their contract.
Okay, I understand that. Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, a motion to approve the recommended motion? Second. Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolutions to convey easement to the Maryland Historic Trust, Fort Ritchie. Mr. Sterling.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Report in brief, the Maryland Historic Trust wants to acquire a historic easement at Fort Ritchie for and a resolution must be approved by the commissioners authorizing conveyance of the easement. The Maryland Historical Trust has existing historic preservation covenant on the grounds at Fort Ritchie. In consultation with the former Penmar Development Corporation prior to acquisition of the property by the county, the Maryland Historical Trust has agreed to reduce the area covered by the Historic Preservation Covenant in exchange for a conveyance of an historic preservation easement over the parade grounds and historic buildings surrounding those grounds. This easement will provide enhanced protection of the core historic components of the fort while allowing for greater flexibility for redevelopment efforts on the remainder of the property. The easement includes all pertinent historic structures and will enable the county and Maryland Historic Trust to further the preservation, conservation of historic and important historic, architectural, aesthetic, and cultural characteristics. If you look at your attachments, the next map shows the proposed new area that's going to be included in MHT in the covenants. Your second map shows the old area, so you'll see it's a significant decrease in size. Takes ponds out, takes the motor pool, some other areas.
Okay, any questions, comments, commissioners?
This has long been planned. We've been working through the process with the Maryland Historical Trust, which does have a number of hoops that we have to jump through. And as Jim said, one of those troops is that they require the governing body authorize a resolution. So what we are asking today is for your approval to authorize the execution of a resolution in a form acceptable to the Office of the County Attorney, authorizing the conveyance of an easement to MHT.
You want a motion on that?
Yes, please.
Can I ask a question real quick? Jim, what buildings are being taken out of the historic?
Actually, I think it's only 607, or excuse me, 700. Building 700, the lakes and everything, but just the way that line was drawn around, it took up a bunch of land along the lake where future retail could go or other things.
Building 700, I'm sorry, does that have a name to it?
It's the old motor pool. Okay. It's really not that old. It's one of the newer motor pools, but there are some environmental concerns underneath of it. And by getting it out of the MHT designation, the Army will be able to go in there once that's demolished and do more remediation in there.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? If none, move to approve the resolution.
Move to approve authorization of a resolution, right? Okay.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Intergovernmental Cooperative Purchase, INTG 18-005, P25 portable radios, Mr. Curry and Mark Mades.
Somebody before you is intercooperative government radio, portable radios. Move to authorize by resolution intergovernment cooperative purchasing program of 25 P25 portable radios for Washington County Sheriff's Office at a cost of $104,494.75, and 3 P25 portable radios for the Health Department at a cost of $12,897.30 from Tactical Public Safety LLC, and to utilize another jurisdiction's contract pricing that was awarded by Metropolitan Washington Council, excuse me, Government's contract number 18-009. There was a committee formed several years ago to look at the county's overall use of radio system. The committee was made up of the county administrator, the sheriff, the division director of emergency services, IT director, director of wireless communications, and they standardized the radios to come up with this model of the P25. And the Code of Public Laws does allow the board to enter into a contract, even though we were not part of that contract, to utilize the pricing. And you can also see the fiscal impact for the Sheriff's Department's budget and also the Health Department that will be paying for these radios. And we concur with the Management Committee. And also you have a price matrix that's showing the prices from the various vendors who submitted proposal for the pricing of the radios.
Okay, any questions, comments, commissioners? If we don't have any comments or questions, need to move forward with the recommended motion. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
The only comment I might have, and not necessarily pertaining to this in particular, but the management committee that oversees the radio system, I wonder, I see we have some folks from our Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. Might it be prudent to have one of those members serve on that committee? I know the radio systems are used by emergency services personnel all over the county.
Is there a committee, is there another committee where you all are involved in any of these discussions on the radios and so forth? Okay. So then,
We don't need to decide that necessarily today, but I hope we can talk about that soon.
so we'll go, we're okay with the recommended motion. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Okay, back to Wayne's concern on the association having a representative on that committee. How do we go about getting representation from our volunteer organizations? Okay. Okay. Perfect. Commissioners okay with that? Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, Paul F. and Patricia B. Miller, Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, Rural Legacy Program Easement Proposal. Mr. Seifert, how are you this morning?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We have a combination project here today, CREP and Rural Legacy. This is the Peaceable Paws operation. They have an area that's being excluded. It's called additional easement area for commercial dog and horse training. But the portion we're buying, the CREP amount, 55 acres, $191,000, and Rural Legacy about 25 acres, almost $74,000. All the easement money and expenses are being paid 100% by the state. These will be permanent easements, and it's part of our $1.359 million grant that we already have in hand for the Rural Legacy. The CREP we just acquire from the state as needed. Are there any questions?
Any questions, comments, commissioners?
How close are we closing in on our percentage?
Now we got 32,820 acres, so 60 couple percent.
So once you accomplish the 100%, the 100% starts all over again?
I think somebody else will answer that question.
Above and beyond. Thank you.
Okay, motion to move forward is recommended. Second. Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay, intent to convey real property to Triple Y LLC. Ms. Small. I saw her here a second ago.
I'm right here.
Oh,
She was already up there.
Hello.
how are you today?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Good, good.
She must have been behind the television.
I snuck in. Okay, today I'm here to present the intent to convey the real property to Triple Y. I'm Susan Small, business leader with Department of Business Development. Recommended motion today is to move to adopt the ordinance declaring the property located at 22930 Federal Lookout Road in Smithsburg, Maryland as surplus and approve the conveyance of the same and to authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the conveyance. The notice of the county's intent to convey the property was duly advertised on April 24th, May 1st, and May 8th, and we're ready to transfer the property as described to Triple Y LLC. In June of 2016, the property was transferred from Washington County Board of Education to the Board of County Commissioners. Since taking ownership, the board formally listed the property, received, and has accepted an offer of $300,000 from the buyer mentioned above. The proposed disposition packet has been submitted for approval to the Maryland Board of Public Works, and once I get confirmation of approval from them, the staff will coordinate closing with all the necessary parties, and the buyer has completed their study period. Any questions?
Triple Y.
Yes.
You have any?
They are, the investor is working with another group that did the Conaga-Jig School. So they're looking at the same investors.
Okay, any questions, comments? If none, a motion to move forward is recommended. Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next one was pulled, correct?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm that you are aware of that development. Okay?
Okay, request for resolution of support for the Maryland Theater Association Department of Commercial Loan. Ms. Buchanan. Good morning again. Or afternoon. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, it does. Susan Buchanan, Director of Grant Management. Jessica Green, Executive Director of Maryland Theater, is attempting to get here. I have a feeling she's not going to make it before the end of this presentation, but if you would like, I could go ahead and proceed without her here. I'm here requesting a motion to approve a resolution of support for the Maryland Theaters Association's Department of Commerce loan. The Maryland Theater has applied for and been approved for a $2 million repayable loan through the Department of Commerce's Maryland Economic Development Assistance Authority Fund, known as MEDAF. The loan is to be utilized for the Maryland Theater's expansion, which is part of the Hagerstown Urban Improvement Project. The Maryland Theater has requested and received approval for the $2 million loan through the program offered by the Department of Commerce. The loan funds will be used for their expansion, which is a component of the urban improvement project as stated. MEDF provides grants, loans, and investments to support economic development initiatives and priority funding areas in the state. Use of the fund includes business attraction and retention, infrastructure support, brownfield development, arts and entertainment districts, revolving loan funds, and local strategic planning. A resolution of support from the county for the project is a requirement for the program. There is no fiscal impact. This just supports the project. There is no monetary obligations attached with it, and this is what they do need to be able to close that loan and move forward with the project.
Okay, any questions, comments, Commissioners? Okay, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion and a second for the approval of the resolution of support for the Maryland Theater Association. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, 4-0. Thank you.